that this development is generating.
And then Katie, that's going to be outlined in detail with the development agreement, or that's determined after the development agreement's been signed and they submit construction plans?
So the obligation for the mitigation is in the development agreement, and it's in the engineering staff report.
Right.
And so it will be determined at some future time when they do their plans if there is actually an improvement that the city would be requiring that is compensatory mitigation, or if the cash in lieu of the improvement would be fine and could be applied to another city project.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. I think the other question I had was concerning sewer. They're in the, is it the Dixie sewer study, or what is the sewer study that's?
So this is in the Dixie, the Dixie sewer study.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And are they going to be having to upsize any sewer lines, or that's called out?
Give me just 1 second here.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
So the sewer system in this area has been built out.
Okay.
There should be no need to upsize. There's a sewer trunk line that is a 24-inch in Indiana.
Okay.
So along the, up and down the west side of the project there. And then there is also a sewer line that was recently constructed that actually runs through the north edge of their property. And that's the line that continues east down Ustick Road. And those are both major trunk lines. And so all they need to do as part of their development is to complete the sewer system within their development and then tie into one of those trunk lines, and the services available.
Okay, all the existing upgraded services. Thank you. And then I was just a little disappointed. Pioneer did not respond at all. This is obviously a big open canal. Is there any special considerations or easements that need to be taken in place for this, or should they have commented on it? What's their general requirements for a ditch like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon that they don't comment on it. A developer, as they go through the process, will have to comply with all the restrictions and regulations for an open drain. This is the Dixie Drain, so it is owned by the Bureau of Reclamation, but it is maintained by Pioneer Irrigation District. And so it can be left open, it can be tiled. There's different options there that the developer can pursue, but any option would have to be approved by the Bureau of Reclamation that has any impact on the drain. And there are inherent easements associated with that drain that cannot be encroached upon without permission from the Bureau of Reclamation.
Such as the pathway that the city's wanting to require?
Or
is that outside of the easement?
I don't know if it's inside or outside. Yeah, if there was a pathway inside the easement, you'd need permission.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. I think at this time, out of questions at the moment. I have some for the applicant. So applicant or applicant's representative like to come up and testify. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner, and thank you, Katie, for doing such a comprehensive job with your presentation. I'll try not to repeat too many things with mine. My name is Stephanie Hopkins. I work with KM Engineering. Our address is 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here this afternoon to talk with you about the Hoshaw subdivision. We're requesting a preliminary plat, plan unit development, and a development agreement modification. As Katie mentioned, this property was annexed and zoned in 2007. At that time, it was zoned R1, which is a low-density residential designation. The Knightsbridge subdivision was proposed, which included a development agreement. So that's what we're requesting to modify. Most of the modifications we're requesting are things that have already been built out. So the engineering memo that was issued kind of fills in any gaps as far as improvements they're expecting. Examples would be just right-of-way dedication changes along Indiana and Ustick. Those have increased a little bit since this was originally approved, and then some crossing stuff and some other things that are in their memo. So the property is approximately 81 acres south of Ustick and east of Indiana, really close to existing services in the area, Brothers Park and the Caldwell YMCA. Valley View High School is nearby. There's a kindergarten through 8th grade charter school nearby as well. Commercial opportunities such as a gym, dentist, orthodontic office, and some other commercial services directly to the west. and future land use map that allows for redevelopment with some higher density and commercial opportunities in the area too. So as I mentioned, we're proposing a new planned unit development, preliminary plat, and the DA modification to the existing development agreement. Hoshaw is a mixed-use development that includes a lot of open space, amenities, a variety of single-family detached and attached home options, and a section of multifamily, which is fourplex units in the northwest corner of the property. There's also a commercial component we've included along U Stick. As Katie mentioned, this is within the low-density residential future land use map for this area of Caldwell. It does allow for up to 6 units per acre with a PUD, and we're underneath that density allowance. We held a neighborhood meeting last October. There were quite a few neighbors there. I think a lot of them are here this afternoon, so we'll hear some of their concerns and kind of talk through those as we talk about the project. So approximately 81 acres overall. 31 acres of that is proposed to be single-family residential. Can't see this too well, but is there a pointer on this? Okay, no big deal. Most of it's single-family. So the northwestern corner that looks like just one big lot, which it is the multifamily section. It's about 11 acres. And then there's a common lot that's about 17 acres. Right-of-way and other common driveways are about 20. Excuse me. So overall, we're proposing 318 lots. 264 of those will be single-family lots, 4 commercial lots, and 1 multifamily lot that'll include 41 fourplex units, or fourplex buildings, which will be 164 units overall. 42 common lots and 7 common driveways. Total number of dwelling units we're proposing is 428, which is about 5.3 units per acre. We are proposing to leave the Dixie Drain open. I might go to the next one so you can see the pretty picture. So we're proposing to leave the Dixie Drain open. We will work with Pioneer and the Bureau of Rec. We don't have any plans to infringe upon their easement. I believe the pathway, I didn't have a chance to look at our pre-plat, but I believe the pathway is within the easement right now. So we would have to move that out of there or we've worked with the Bureau of Rec before to include things within their easement, so we can coordinate with them on that. We're proposing, we do have a pathway adjacent to the drain. Staff is conditioning that we increase that to 8 to 10 feet, which we're amenable to. It's previously shown as 5. We have 1 point of access proposed in the south part of the site, which will be where the first phase is included. That's to Laster Street. And there's also a stub street on the southeast corner of this property that goes to the existing Four Seasons subdivision. That's an existing stub street that we'll be connecting through. We are stubbing streets to undeveloped property on the east portion of the project, just below the commercial lots, and then there's one in the center of the site too that'll connect to 2 undeveloped developed properties to the east. Sewer will be extended from the main that Rob mentioned to the west, it's just west of the Dixie Drain on the south side of the development, and then water will be connected from the south as well. So we are meeting several of the required findings for PUD according to Caldwell's code. We're including a maximum choice of living environments with a variety of housing and building types. I'll show you all the different types of units we're proposing. We have alley-loaded and front-loaded townhomes, as well as a single-family detached, kind of a standard-sized lot. That'll be bigger lots in the south portion of the development, and then a narrower single-family detached product in the north portion. And then, of course, the multifamily units. We've created a well-integrated mixed-use project that will eventually provide service to the primary residential uses with the commercial component that's at the northeast corner of the property, preserving and enhancing natural features such as the Dixie Drain, trying to kind of keep that in place while working around it. And then this also can be considered an infill development since the majority of the area in this area of Caldwell has been developed. Hoshaw has been designed as well as we can to complement existing developments to the east and south. We've aligned lots, which I'll show you later, and have tried to transition density as we move towards the major thoroughfares, U Stick and Indiana. So we're proposing 7 amenities that will cater to the specific housing styles proposed. There are only 4 usually required. And as mentioned, we're proposing 264 buildable residential lots. So within the number of dwelling units proposing, 428, there'll be 180 single-family detached. So So that'll be the standard single-family homes on the south portion that were designed to align with Seasons and the other subdivision that's to the south, the Aspen sub. Those are very similar in size and the lot lines align. And then there's 84 single-family attached units. So those will be the alley-loaded homes as well as some front-load homes. Those are kind of the darker yellow. This kind of just shows you the breakdown even more. There are 53 of the single-family homes, kind of the townhome style, shown at the very north portion, and then the 84 are single-family attached. So those are the townhome product, and then 127 of the standard. In yellow, of course, is the multifamily. So within the multifamily portion of this development, there are 164 units proposed. It's 41 buildings. The architect designed a few different floor plans to provide a variety of units available for folks. So there are 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. There are 56 units. I'll go to the next one so you can kind of see this. But type 1-1 is the 1 bedroom, 1 bath. There are 56 units outlined in yellow. And then type 2-1 is a 2 bed, 2 bath. There are 44 units outlined in red. And then there are 36 units that are 2 bed, 2 bath. And then 28 that are 3 bed, 2 bath. So there are 2 different 2 bed, 2 bath options just to provide a different facade and kind of have a different look. So not everything looks the same. He did kind of place, units in specific locations so that there would be some variation as far as the facade of each of the buildings. And of course, the goal was to provide a variety of bedroom options so that, families could locate here, or it could be a single, person or, a couple or something along those lines. Within the multifamily component, there will be their own separate amenities. So they'll have a clubhouse, a pool, and then a badminton or pickleball court. And then, let's see. So open space and amenities overall, we're proposing about 12 acres, which is about 15% of the overall site. This is considered qualified open space. Proposed amenities include a basketball court, sidewalks throughout, including micro pathways, small children's playground, a large children's playground, pickleball or a badminton court, pool, and clubhouse. Those are all within the multifamily section, and then dog waste stations that are adjacent to the Dixie Drain. So just to break that down for you, there's the multifamily section, which includes the pool and the sports courts, as well as the clubhouse. There are dog waste stations kind of along the Dixie Drain, both on the north and south part of it. And then a sports court will be like a basketball court for folks in the north portion. There's also some guest parking located here, which could be, a convenient location for folks if they want to drive up from the south to come up north to play a game of basketball, or if people have guests over. And the south portion of the development includes a larger central open space area that'll have a large children's play structure, and then a smaller one that'll include a smaller tot lot. Those are all connected with micro pathways to hopefully provide an easy way for folks to get either to the smaller one or the larger one on the south, or to go further north to use the basketball courts. And then bike repair stations are also included along the Dixie Drain. So the standard single-family detached homes, these are the ones that are in the south portion of the development, will kind of be a standard home style. They're the lot sizes are all around, I think it's like 6,000 to 8,000 square feet.
Stephanie, that was your 10
Oh,
minutes.
okay.
So if you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I'll be really
thank
quick.
you. Yeah, you're fine.
It goes so fast.
It does.
So these are just the elevations to get an idea, and then these are the standard. This is the single-family detached, kind of the narrower lot. Those will be in the north portion of the development. Front-load townhomes are in the north portion, and then to provide a little bit of interest and some different product type is the alley-load townhomes, which will also be located in the north portion of the development. The multifamily renderings, everything's kind of the same type of color scheme and same type of architectural theme to provide some consistency and integration. Different types of facades just to kind of keep things a little bit interesting. And then the clubhouse will be mirroring kind of a modern architectural style. The proposed phasing plan, maybe I can go over in rebuttal if you have questions on it, but we have coordinated with the fire department on this to revise our phasing plan to make sure that we have secondary access available for the first phase. Second phase has been decreased to 30 lots because we didn't have a secondary point of access for them. And third phase, obviously, we understand that we'll need to complete a connection to USTIC to provide an access for them as well as other phases within the development. So I can go over lot counts later if you'd like. We are requesting a modification to site-specific condition number 1. Staff is recommending that we complete the remainder of landscape buffers along Indiana, USTIC, and Laster with phase 3, which is the purple phase on the top part of this picture. We're requesting that those be done at the time of development with each of those phases, just because there's a chance that if, we were to include a lot of landscaping along these frontages, that they could be ruined or it would maybe be inefficient for development with each of these phases. So we're requesting that this condition be stricken or potentially modified depending on what staff finds is agreeable. So thank you for the extra time to discuss those last slides. We're really excited about this project. I'd be happy to stand for further questions.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I do have a few questions.
Okay.
So there's no, and then we'll have public comment after that. Let me get a few questions I have. So Compass had some comments about coordinating with them about future bus stop locations.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to them?
We haven't, but I did see their comment on that, and I've talked to our developer about it, and we'll reach out to them to kind of see what they think is appropriate or what should be included.
Okay.
I don't know if they usually want those included within this development, or it'd be kind of like an offset on a intersection, or what that would entail, but we're happy to coordinate with them on that.
Steve sent out some late comments this morning.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to review those?
Madam Hearing Examiner, yes, we did. I compared his recent comments with the first memo, and I think the main change is requiring frontage improvements along that out parcel, the little triangular piece.
Parcel.
Yeah.
And you guys are in agreement with that?
Our client is amenable to doing that.
And you can get the right-of-way and easement?
Yes, if the city's able to get right-of-way, I think that's the way the condition was written. If the city is able to acquire right-of-way or get that all taken care of, our client will take care of the construction.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Rob's nodding his head. What if you're not able to get the right-of-way? Would they need to do a road trust?
So if we're not able to get the right-of-way, then we would use the prescriptive right-of-way, which would still allow for curb and gutter and roadway, just probably not sidewalk improvements.
Okay.
And so that's generally where we've gone in the past.
Okay.
But this way it's a little bit easier, so the city will approach that property owner and negotiate the right-of-way, and then if we're able to get it, then full improvements would be required.
Okay.
And when would that need to occur? During one of the later phases, or is that something you want done at the beginning?
It would occur, the city will pursue it as soon as the plans come in, probably for a construction drawing review.
Okay.
But whenever they're doing the frontage on that side, whatever phase that is, then we would pick which phase we felt like it was appropriate to be doing that frontage in.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying, Rob. You were lacking a little bit in parking for your more narrower homes. What is your plan to accommodate that, since that's going to be a condition of approval?
Yes, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner, for bringing that up. We coordinated with Katie on this. I think we're short 7 spaces it was after we did the count. Maybe it was 11, I can't remember offhand. We looked at our plans, and so we would essentially expand that guest parking lot in phase 4. I wish I had a better picture. I don't want to have to go through all those, but the phasing plan, phase 4, you see that little kind of like rectangular area? We would expand the spaces out that way. And that gave us plenty of space when we were looking at it on CAD.
Your open space same?
The open space may change a little bit, but we are exceeding the requirements.
Okay.
I think by like 5%. Okay, so we have a little bit of wiggle room there. We'd obviously like to, keep as much open space as we can, so we'll be sensitive to that.
Okay. And then the phasing plan, you're confident, because you don't want to have to come back and amend it. I mean,
Yes.
So the fire chief has reviewed it, the new one, and he's...
Yep,
Okay.
Madam Hearing Examiner. We did coordinate with Fire Marshal Perry yesterday, and he's good with the change with the phase increasing. And I did send this exhibit over to him yesterday. We got an approved email back, I think before I sent the exhibit. And our client's amenable to this too. We do know that Caldwell's wants your phasing plan to match up with the phases you come in, so.
And then Joey with the Valley View School District, he did write a letter. Have you reached out and talked to him about schools? I know that a lot of people here are going to be talking about school capacities. And
Yes. Madam Hearing Examiner, sensitive to that. You know, Valley View has struggled with capacity for a while. I think this developer did gift a sizable acreage. I think it's about 11 acres for a new school site, so hopefully that'll help. I think that's usually like an elementary school.
Where's that, where did he?
I actually don't know where it is.
Oh.
I talked to the developer and he told me about it, but I'm not sure. And it was in Joey's letter too. I'm not sure exactly where it is. I
The
don't know if staff
location
knows.
is?
The 11-acre piece that the developer donated to Valley View. I think luckily the high school that's nearby has some capacity left. I know that the charter school that's nearby too, they have enrollment available. It looks like it's a lottery system, and of course that's not the public school system, so it's a little different. But that would hopefully provide a little bit of an option for folks.
Stephanie, you referenced the neighborhood meeting that you held
Mhm.
last fall. How did that go, and did your applicant make any concessions after that meeting to kind of accommodate some of the neighbors' concerns?
Madam Hearing Examiner, I don't know that we made any changes to the plan. The neighbors might be able to tell you if, I don't think we made any changes. Sorry for my memory is kind of failing me on that. I think during the meeting, a lot of the comments that I heard were that folks were concerned about the density and just the overall change that this area is feeling. There was some concern also about the low density residential zoning designation and using a planned unit development to increase density that Caldwell Code allows. Trying to remember that, so we held it in October. I think folks were concerned about the fourplexes. I think in general density and you know, more people concern folks as far as traffic and school capacity and just the number of folks, crime and some other things that you kind of hear about as side effects. In general, people were pretty, you know, polite, I think, but it was clear that a lot of folks were concerned about the amount of growth, so.
Okay, sure. That kind of leads into, so the previous plat that was approved in 2007,
Mhm.
pretty significantly different than this one. And you kind of explained the PUD process, and how do you feel like through the PD, what you're providing allows for that extra density that was originally approved?
Yeah,
in
Madam
07?
Hearing Examiner, I think it was really great that Katie showed that, the original plat. I think obviously 2007 was a long time ago. That was prior to the economic downfall or downturn, and then also, things have changed quite a bit in this area. I think the city, we met with the city and I think it was 4 roundtables to discuss this project and what they'd like to see. And they were, you know, really wanting to see a commercial component as well as mix of uses. I think because there are so many services nearby, including, you know, just things that folks that live in this area could use, like the Caldwell YMCA and some other large parks. I think having density in this location, especially near recently improved infrastructure, makes sense. I'm sure, as far as the change from the previous one, I think we've increased the number of lots by probably like 100. I think it was around, maybe a little bit less than that.
Okay.
I think it's merited just based on the amount of growth this area has seen and the fact that we are providing such a variety of housing styles. I think that fulfills the intention of a PUD perfectly. So that's kind of what our discussions have been with the city
Okay.
regarding this too.
Great. And then about amenities. So can you take me back on your landscape plan? Where is the pedestrian bridge going to be located at?
Yes, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner, for bringing that up, because another thing I meant to mention. So
No problem.
in the southern portion of the development, there is this interesting little area that was kind of left over. We're leaving the Dixie Drain open, which leaves 22 homes to the west of the Dixie Drain. We have one point of vehicular access to Indiana proposed, and that's where it is, at Armada Street. There's a pedestrian path and bridge that will be constructed across the Dixie Drain that goes from those single-family homes into the larger portion of single-family homes, and will connect to that larger central open space with the big tot lot.
If we decide to proceed, I'm going to probably make that a condition of approval that
Okay,
bridge happens.
that sounds like a great idea.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the clubhouse? Is that going to be just for the people that live in the fourplexes, or is the whole subdivision going to have access to the pool and clubhouse? And then what is the clubhouse? Is it going to be actual, just a changing area and restrooms, or is it going to be, are you going to be able to come in and, like, what's it all going to?
Madam Hearing Examiner, that's a really good question on what exactly it'll entail. I don't know that, I haven't had that discussion with our client, it looks bigger to me based on the rendering than just like a changing room kind of situation. I think there'll probably be, like the mailbox unit, maybe like a little directory. I can look into that and have more information.
Okay.
As far as availability, the intention, I believe, is for this to be primarily for the fourplex section. I know that, I think the developer's intention is to have the multifamily under its own HOA, so it'll have kind of a different property management thing.
Okay.
And then the single-family homes would be under a separate HOA,
Oh, I
just
see.
to make sure
Okay.
that they have, very adequate management for the fourplexes.
Sure.
I could try to reach out to our client while he wasn't able to make the meeting today, but I could try to see if he can respond back on exactly what the clubhouse will entail, if you'd like.
I think since city council is going to be hearing this, and I'm just only basing on a recommendation, it might be something good to cover
Okay.
when you're in front of city council.
I'll make a note for that.
I guess that leads to my question to Katie about the fourplexes. Is this going to have to come under a separate application for the multifamily, or is this going to cover at a later time, or are we covering it all now?
Madam Hearing Examiner, it is all covered now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think, Stephanie, that is all I have for the moment.
Okay.
So, we'll let now for public comment, and then you can come back up for rebuttal.
Wonderful.
Based on, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so first, on my sign-up sheet, I have Adam Duarte? Oh, thank you, Adam. You're neutral. Would you like to speak, please?
Questions?
Okay, yeah, just first tell me your name and address, please.
My name's Adam Duarte. I live
Okay.
at 2519 Springcrest Street. My first question is forgive this, but this is planned community, so is this gonna be all rentals?
Right. The applicant can address that, but it sounds like it's gonna be, single family, like those homes are gonna be sold to individuals. And the multifamily, the fourplexes that are in blue,
Mhm.
will be rentals. It'll be under one ownership and rented out. So the corner, the blue will be rental.
So for sure, the houses are gonna be sold to individuals, so okay. Because the biggest trap of all time is when we have these big planned developments and they're just rentals, and then nobody has upward mobility.
Sure.
And they don't see it, so.
No, it looks like this,
The next question is you guys didn't address Indiana for the
Okay.
traffic. The engineer, you addressed Ustick, but not Indiana, 'cause now how are you gonna address making a left turn off of Laster onto Indiana, or also coming out of the subdivision, 'cause that's quite a bit of cars.
Adam, Rob,
Oh.
don't they're gonna be required to provide turn lanes on Indiana based on the traffic study? We'll have him answer that real quick.
Ms. Hearing Examiner, turn lanes are built in, the center turn lane is built in as part of the standard road width,
Already
for
currently?
Indiana.
Okay.
It's a 3-lane road, when it's built out, and so it would have the center turn lane. Traffic getting out onto Indiana, there are currently no plans for any type of traffic light at Laster in Indiana. And that's not something that, in the future, at some point, there may be a need for that. At this point, according to the traffic impact study, it appears to not be warranted at this time. So I guess the answer to the question is that on Indiana, it's gonna be widened on their side. When the
Okay.
other side develops, it'll be widened, and then at that point, you'll have a full 3-lane road with bike lanes and sidewalks.
But in the meantime, you're gonna have just a gravel path for kids walking to the YMCA, as it is now, with a 50-mile-an-hour road. You're gonna add all these other houses and individuals, because there's no safe place to walk or ride on Indiana.
Right, so Adam, when they make their,
Mhm.
if this project gets approved, with their improvements on Indiana, they'll have to put in a bike lane, curb, gutter,
Mhm.
sidewalk. I don't know if that'll be detached sidewalk, I'm assuming it will be, for,
I don't know if it's detached or not, but the benefit of development is that development does build out roads and they provide and build sidewalks. The city doesn't have the funding to come in and do those types of improvements. And so we levy that onto developers to make those improvements. And so as the development comes in, they would be building a sidewalk all the way up Indiana Road to get to the intersection where they could then get over to the YMCA or to the schools or wherever.
What about a speed change on Indiana? 'Cause right now it's 45, and if we're adding all that traffic and also pedestrian traffic, and you can't make a left turn.
Okay, I have to ask you, you're supposed to address your
Okay, well,
question
sorry, I'm
to
new
the
at this, but I
examiner.
mean,
Okay.
you're the
That's
one
fine.
with the answer, so.
You're fine. That's fine. We can have Rob explain, but you have
Okay.
to ask me
Oh,
directly.
sorry.
No, you're fine, Adam. Thank you. Rob, will there be any decrease in,
Currently, there are no plans to decrease, but as population grows in that area, then we go back and we reanalyze the, traffic and the speed limits and then make determinations. Generally, collectors are set at 30 to 35 miles an hour. In this case, Indiana is a minor arterial, and so that would require a traffic study to determine at what point it's necessary to decrease the speed limit.
okay, and declassify it, or would it always?
It would stay as the same classification,
Okay.
but it would just be a speed limit
Speed
study.
limit, okay.
Yep.
So, Adam, it sounds like this development doesn't determine the speed limit. That would be something that would be determined later on by the city of Caldwell.
Okay, another question I had on the development too was like, how many cars do they figure is gonna go? I heard about parking spaces, but in my job, I actually deliver for a large box store here, just building materials. And I've been in almost every development in the whole valley and beyond. And what I've noticed is these developments, the roads are getting narrower and they don't accommodate enough cars per unit. Most people I've got 3 and I've had up to 5. So even if a 1-bedroom they're gonna need at least 2 cars or maybe 3.
Sure.
And I don't see enough space, especially when they put all the high density together, there's nowhere to park. And you're kidding yourselves, you think they're gonna go down half a block to park in the other spot that's open, because it doesn't happen. You're gonna be covering up, and you can see it in the other developments off Florida, in the townhomes there, on both sides of Karcher Road. There's not enough parking.
Well, Adam, so I
Yeah, you timed me out, I got that, but.
No, but just to answer your question, so based on code, they're required to bring X amount of parking spaces. And yeah,
Mhm.
that might not be adjacent to the homes, but it looks like each home, besides the fourplexes, will have their own parking, garage, and a driveway pad. And they are required to meet the zoning code requirements, as far as the parking. We will be conditioning them to provide additional parking so that it does meet our code if this gets approved. So, based on what code is, that's what they have to meet.
Okay, well, just in closing, I'd like to say, I'm a little bit leaning more to the opposition now, because there's some serious unanswered questions that haven't been detailed, and the density is a big problem, and also the schools is a big problem. Valley View, my son just graduated there this last year, and it's been full. There's not a whole lot of capacity. The elementaries don't have capacity. So you're just burdening me, and I actually own my home outright. I walk in there and I sign the check for my property taxes. So you're asking me to pay more money for their profits. I'm not very happy about that part.
Sure, okay. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Okay, next that was neutral was Jack, Sutz, or how do I pronounce your last name? I didn't say I wanted to speak. Oh, you didn't have a box marked. Okay, you don't want to speak? Are you sure? You got a chance right now. No? Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm terrible at reading handwriting. Cadell Baez? Yes, would you like to come up and speak? Thank you.
I guess
Just name and address first,
Oh,
please.
Katie Baez, it's 4106 Baez Lane,
Okay,
Caldwell. So the orange, is that where it's, commercial property?
yes.
And then right now, they just don't know what kind of commercial,
I don't
Is it
think so,
so?
but we can ask the applicant when she comes back up.
okay. And then, there is a canal on, like, by where the commercial property is, and then my property is. Do they plan on closing that or leaving it open?
Oh,
Because I know there's 2 canals on that.
So can you, I don't know, can we get a better layout of, and then can can you tell me where the, canal is that you're talking about? Is it in front of the commercial you're referencing?
Yes, on the side of the commercial, and then what, the purple, is that townhouses? The dark purple?
I think those are, yes, those are the townhomes.
Okay, so that, yeah, there's a canal there, and I was wondering if they were gonna close that, and then also, if they're gonna do, like, if it does get approved, is there gonna be, like, any fencing or, like berms or anything like that?
Those are great questions. And then we'll have the applicant come up and
Okay.
address those.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, let's see, we're gonna move to opposition. We have Scott Telemat. He is would like to speak. Scott, thank you. Name and address again? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Examiner. Scott Tillmont, 4520 Equinox Avenue, Caldwell. Just as a point of reference, when this was Knightbridge subdivision, the previous plat, we had absolutely no problem with it. So, stand in opposition today for this development because I believe it's in opposition to code. Under Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 2, it specifically states that multifamily, anything basically triplex and above, is not permitted. There's no footnotes, there's no exemptions, nothing. So per that code, the fourplexes are not allowed.
And that's under what section in the code?
10.2.2.
10.2.2, are you familiar with that?
Now,
Katie?
under 10.2.2, it also states that planned unit developments, residential, are under special use permit.
Hmm.
When you go to that, it says, and it was responded to by one of our residents who had emailed in, that they went under 10.3.7, subsection C, that 30% of the net area could be adjusted. I find these two codes in conflict. Nothing in this code, under 10.2.2, by fact, states that multifamily has any kind of adjustment to it.
Mhm.
It specifically states it's not permitted. The commercial, for example, under 10.2.2, doesn't list anything. There's certain areas that are not marked whether they're permitted special use or not permitted.
Mhm. Okay.
That, I would believe, falls under a separate ordinance. The duplexes, under this ordinance, your land use schedule, state that duplexes have a special use permit. They're allowed. That would then fall under planned unit development. I'm against this because I believe it's against code.
Katie, can you talk a little bit about that section he's referring to? And is the PUD is what's allowing the multifamily to be allowed into the application, correct?
Yes, Madam Hearing Examiner. So the code section that you are referring to, that I believe you said your neighbor, the 30% got, so it does specify that anything not permitted outright could be included in that 30%. So it doesn't need to be specially permitted. It can be either permitted or specially permitted or not permitted.
But as you just said, anything specifically not permitted. 10.2.2 states that fourplexes are specifically not permitted, with no footnotes, with no exemptions, and there's plenty of them on here that have footnotes and exemptions. Now, if that wasn't the intent of the code, my belief is your codes are now in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
This is a legal issue, not a desire issue, not, like I said, I actually don't like the fact that the density coming in, but that has nothing to do with it. This is a legal issue. Your ordinances are in conflict.
So Scott, Katie, what's staff's opinion of that? Or Morgan, what is your stance on that?
Morgan Besaw, Planning and Zoning. In the PUD section of the code, it specifically says non-permitted uses are permitted up to 30%.
So your codes mean nothing, because I can just write another code that overwrites everything else. Your code specifically says it's not permitted.
And it also says that it is permitted within a PUD. So that's how we've always interpreted and implemented the code. That's how we process PUDs. That's part of the benefit to an applicant of applying for a PUD, is that there's more flexibility in the uses that they are allowed to have on site.
So basically, the zoning doesn't mean anything, because this would then fall under and could be allowed under an R2, but that would require a rezone. So I'm not basically your codes don't mean anything at this point, because everything overrides everything else.
Well, I think that's the intent of the PUD, is to bring a variety. If you look at the PUD and how it reads, it's to bring a variety of housing options. And that's why it's allowing the fourplexes under the PUD process.
The way I read it, it doesn't. You can bring in all kinds of other things, because there is an entire list here under 10.2.2
Mm-hmm.
that does not specifically say not allowed. And this has no footnotes, it has no exceptions. So your codes are in
I
conflict.
can see how that gets deceiving without any footnotes explaining this. It
So
will be allowed.
basically what this is now saying is that it's whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the citizens are now seeing this.
No, I see your point, yeah. No, thank you, Scott. No, thanks.
So,
Morgan, did you have anything else you wanted to put? Yeah, okay. All right,
Thank
thank you. Next to speak, Mark did not speak. James? Hancock? I don't. Are you sure this is your once in the opportunity? Yeah? Come up, please, yeah. Name and address.
James Hancock, 2608 Fallcrest. Yeah, I stand in opposition. The primary reason would be the zoning question,
Okay.
and the density would be the issue. I also had a question in the traffic study. There were internal streets that, if I read right, which I could read wrong, I'm new to this, I've never done anything like this before. It showed 1,000, cars per day on 2 streets internal. But I did not see how that was reflected on things moving outside of that. If you have that much density inside, you're going to reflect it outside, and I think it's going to hit traffic around the development itself. So I was concerned about that. It didn't. The dots didn't connect there. So
Sure.
thank
And
you,
that's-
Madam Hearing
No,
Examiner. I
absolutely.
appreciate that. Mhm.
Thank you, James.
Mhm.
That's a great question, and in the traffic study, when they'll determine where they predict majority of the traffic's gonna be flowing. Rob, do you know what, their TIS kind of highlighted where the traffic would be? And usually based on where they predict the traffic's gonna be generated, those are the areas that they're gonna have to either make improvements or will have to, pay
Yeah.
to the road trust or road funds for the area. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how they determine, and that's how the improvements are made. But we'll let Rob, he could probably answer it better than I can.
Thank you.
I apologize, I just had it up. You're talking about the traffic distribution?
Yes, if I'm understanding James' question correctly.
Yeah, there were a lot of pages down in there, Madam Hearing Examiner,
Yes,
where they
there
had
were.
a lot, this is the car density, this is what's happening here, here,
Yes,
here,
yes.
and that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah. And that's a very good question. Traffic impact studies typically, as you read through them, usually it's the intersections where the bottlenecks are. It's not the linear roads. And so, this traffic impact study analyzes the amount of traffic that this, development is generating. And then it analyzes the traffic with the current traffic on the streets. And then it analyzes the traffic with the future traffic in the year 2030. And so if you look at that, you can see that the intersections, for example, the intersection at Laster in Indiana, in 2030, after total build-out, is still functioning just fine. And same with the access point they have onto Laster Street is functioning fine. But your question is more, I'm just trying to understand, your question is more which direction are the vehicles going after they come out of the subdivision, or how is that anticipated, or?
Do I need to address you? Madam Hearing Examiner, internally, I can't remember which streets, more in the south central section.
The plat or like shows where
Yeah.
the ingress egresses are at?
Okay,
Does that
let me
make
see
sense?
where we're at. The south is to the right. Yeah,
so this is
internally-
Indiana down here, you can see the canal kind of running.
Right. Internally, just east of the canal, that street name there, whichever, I can't read it from here. I think that one shows a density of 1,000 cars per day. All right, it's gonna empty onto Laster, yeah. And we know that although the ideal egress is what the study shows, traffic flows, and it's gonna find its best way out, whichever one it is, yeah. It concerned me, being a resident of the Four Seasons subdivision, that there are stubs that are gonna be connected there, and people are gonna find a way out,
Sure.
yeah.
No.
And so the traffic density does impact internal things. Now, I'm talking with Scott, a neighbor, he said, well, all these things are stubbed according to, for fire suppression and things like that. And I get all that, which I didn't know before the meeting. So I'm satisfied in that particular area. But it still seems to me like 1,000 cars per day are gonna go somewhere. They're not gonna just go back and forth. And there are two streets there that are gonna impact traffic outside of the division. It's gonna be significant. I moved up 10 years ago from Las Vegas. Thank God for Caldwell. Yeah, it's fun. We had traffic down there that was on an intensity that is far beyond this. But coming here, just an observation, it seems to me that the Treasure Valley chronically underbuilds its roads, for whatever reasons, But, and that concerns me. It could be done better, I think.
Sure,
Mhm.
well, everything can be done better.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth?
So the truth.
Yeah.
Well, I think, James, so I can speak on a couple items. So originally, when your subdivision was built, stub
Mhm.
roads were built in anticipation of this development to be developed.
Right. Mhm.
And so the desire is to have interconnectivity between the developments, so
Uh-huh.
children aren't on those big roads, that can go on the safer roads.
Right.
And there's interconnectivity for fire access, but also for the connection points.
Mhm.
And I understand this concern, you're like, hey, they're gonna be dumping into our subdivision, we don't
Right.
wanna have more traffic. But unfortunately, since that road's already stubbed, they're required
Right.
to continue
Oh,
it on.
Madam
So-
Hearing Examiner, I'm satisfied with that.
Okay,
Once
great.
somebody just said, this is the way it works,
Yeah.
okay, I get it,
Okay, all right.
The change is different, the townhouses are right next to my house, I could
Oh, it is? Oh,
shoot a
can you show
rock.
me, do we have an aerial, can you show me where you live?
Yes, I can.
James?
Mhm. So the multi-housing, the higher density that's that close is a concern, to me.
Okay.
But again, that's a preference thing.
Are you on one of
Yeah.
those larger lots that,
Oh, I'm on Fall Crest.
okay.
I
maybe we can
probably
bring it
am.
up.
So
Okay.
I do not back up to the development. I'm off it just a little bit.
Oh, okay, I see.
Right.
I see.
But
Okay.
there's a common area that is just to the northwest of me, and I am, the townhouses are going right next to that,
Oh, I see, okay.
yeah. So that does concern me. Mhm.
Did you attend the neighborhood meeting, James?
I did not, I was not available
Okay.
at that particular
Okay,
time.
but you did get notice.
I did, oh yeah,
Okay.
I've gotten notice, you bet, If you move your, that would be sufficient right there as far as a picture. But, okay, go to your left, go up, not that far. No, just move your arrow. Okay, keep going. No, the other way. That way, now go straight down. Right there's my house, okay.
Okay, you're part of
And then
that
you have a
subdivision.
common area that's in the corner there, if you go farther to the west, to the north, right in the corner, okay. That's a common area, and then the townhomes run, east to west, right there, yeah. And
Okay.
that's close.
That is close, okay. We'll have the applicant talk about
Okay,
the
yeah,
transition
thank
for
you.
you.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Madam
Thank you
Hearing
for
Examiner.
testifying. Next, I don't have a box marked. It's Michael Alvine. What's that? Oh, he had to leave. Okay. And then next, I have a couple more people that did not want to speak. Margie, would you like to come up and testify? You're more than welcome to. Are you sure? Okay. And then Ricky Delcotti? No? Are you sure? Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to come up? Please come up. Tell me your name and address.
I'm Mary Bruin, 4706 Equinox Avenue, so I'm right on it. And I live on Four Seasons, which will be taken through. I have a question.
Sure. Can you show me where you're at exactly?
4706 Equinox Avenue.
Where the stub road's gonna be coming in
And
at?
I live next to Four Seasons, which is the stub road.
Okay.
Right. So a question about the drainage ditch that's right behind Equinox. I don't see Four Seasons on that map.
Is that Four Seasons right there, Katie?
Well, the road.
It's a stub, yeah.
Yeah, it's the stub.
Yes.
Right. So my question is, we're going fence to fence. I'm the next one up. Yeah, from Four Seasons.
Up there?
Nope, down. Yeah, you were on it. Yeah, there's the stub, and I'm the one just north of that.
Oh, okay, okay.
So the question is, what I heard is that we're going to be fence to fence with the new development.
Mm-hmm.
So is the ditch, the drainage ditch behind us, is it going to be decommissioned and just filled in, or will it be piped?
I think this is the drainage ditch I brought up to you, Katie. And then maybe, I don't know if Rob's familiar with it, we can maybe have Rob to speak to it, but the applicant probably talk about it. I'm assuming it's gonna be tiled and underground, but I did notice there was another ditch besides the
Right.
Dixie drain that runs through, there's two of them, I
Yeah,
noticed.
well, there's two feeders, but this is just a drainage ditch, which is usually only for farmland. And the
Okay.
farmland will be gone. So I'm just curious if it's gonna be filled in or if it will be piped.
Okay, let's have Rob answer that. Do you know which ditch she's talking about? I noticed one when I was looking.
Yes, so there is a ditch that runs right up and down the west side of the Four Seasons
Okay,
development. And if it is a farmer's field ditch, then they have the prerogative to abandon it and remove it if it is out of use.
I would
If-
think it would be out of use.
If there's any historic drainage that's going into that from further upstream or from some other property, then they are obligated to tile it and maintain it so that it can continue to drain.
Okay, so follow-up question then, we all have easements into that drain, so who would be responsible for the survey for placing pins for our property when that's done?
oh, okay, so you have an easement to that drain?
We all have an easement, everybody on Equinox has an easement
Oh,
for
okay.
that drain.
We'll let Stephanie, the applicant's representative, address that, or, Rob, do you have anything? If, that's something I've never heard, if it's a drainage ditch that they have an easement to, I'm assuming because they have drainage that's going into the ditch?
Yes, because the common area in that corner also drains, I believe,
Okay,
into that, top corner up there, that he's talking about, that drains into there.
Yeah, so if the ditch is still in use and if, their storm drain system is tied into this ditch, then it would have to be perpetuated. If the property owners have easements over that drainage ditch, then the development is responsible to make sure they honor all of those easements and mitigate accordingly.
okay,
And they're also responsible for the survey to place the pins?
yes, they would
Right.
be, yes, yes.
Okay, my second concern is there's truly only one entrance into the single family from Laster. That puts everybody else going through Four Seasons. And we have a lot of small kids,
Mhm.
and I hate to see all the traffic come through.
Sure, no. That's understandable. Again, there's already a stub road, so it will have to be connected whenever if this development develops
Oh,
or whatever, it's gonna have to. But it looks like So you're worried that they're gonna come through,
They're gonna come
zigzag
from
all the way,
Laster,
and then go up?
correct. They're
Okay.
either gonna come through Laster on, Hobart, is it? Or they will come from Florida onto Four Seasons and come through our neighborhood, which, we weren't meant for that much traffic.
Sure. And you don't feel that they're gonna come down and come around on Indiana?
There's almost 200 single-family houses that are gonna be using that one entrance. I don't think it's gonna, why can't we insist that there's another entrance off Indiana? They don't wanna cross the drain. I say they need to cross the drain or the canal.
Okay.
Sorry, that's,
Fine. Okay, no, thank you. Is there
okay.
anything else? Your time kind of has expired, so.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Was there not another entrance off of Laster in your subdivision?
Okay, I'm sorry, you have to go back. Can I let him come back up and talk give him 3 more minutes? Do you have one more question? That you can make it quick? Okay, then come back up. Name and address, again.
Adam Duarte, 2519 Springcrest Street, Caldwell. Adding to her question, because I thought, maybe I looked at the map wrong, but on Laster, was there another entrance into the new subdivision? Oh, there wasn't? Okay, so I did see
So,
it
do you
wrong.
want to bring up the plat so we can just highlight it one more time? Thank you. Okay.
So which one's Laster?
The Laster's over here, and they will have one of their main entrances. And since the Dixie Canal's here is kind of blocking them, that's why there's no access onto Indiana. And then they will have access over here.
So there is one off of Laster up there.
So there's 2, both ends.
Okay, so does that make sense? So they're not gonna be coming through then if they're coming in on Laster? Oh.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
okay.
Adam. Okay, I think everyone's testified, and so now we'll let Stephanie come back up. Hopefully you have a list of everything that was addressed, and you can address for the neighbors here. Name and address again,
Yes,
please.
of course. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Stephanie Hopkins, 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise. I took some notes. I hope I address all the questions. Maybe you can ask me if I don't. I appreciate everybody's testimony. The canals and drainage ditches that we were discussing, I remember talking about the drainage ditch on the east side adjacent to Four Seasons, and Scott just came up and spoke to me about it too. It sounds like their subdivision has quite a bit of drainage that is coming from that common lot and then also being situated within the easements at the rear of their lots. As Rob mentioned, we'll likely be piping this facility. I don't know that we've gotten that far in engineering to determine if that's what we were going to do or if we thought we were maybe just going to relocate it. But we'll need to do whatever is required to accommodate what that subdivision designed. Of course, their subdivision needs to keep any of their drainage that might come from flood irrigation or anything like that on their property. So we'll have to coordinate with the engineering plans for their subdivision to kind of understand exactly what's going on. Adam had some comments or questions about whether these would all be rentals. No, the intention is just for the multifamily portion of the development to be owned and maintained by the developer. He's planning on keeping it and under one separate HOA, and those will be rental units. The single-family homes throughout the rest of the development, which these all are, townhomes included, they're all in separate individual lots for separate ownership. So what people do with their property after it's sold is hard for anyone to regulate. So there is a potential always, if somebody, buys a separate lot, they could lease it out to somebody. There's nothing, I don't think, that anyone can do to control that, but that's not the developer's intention with the single-family homes. Let's see. You guys discussed the improvements to Indiana, as far as parking spaces, I think the hearing examiner covered this well. We'll have to work with what code requirements are, and we are exceeding the code requirements in the multifamily portion by, I think it's like 8 or 9 spots. Caldwell Code's actually kind of interesting. They require, for any lot that's under 45 feet in sorry, I keep talking to him, I know I'm
That's
supposed to talk
fine.
to you.
That was his question. It's okay.
Any lot that's 45 feet or less actually has to provide an extra parking space, which is interesting because a lot of codes don't require that. So the single-family portion, the northern portion especially, will have more parking available in a separate parking lot than most single-family residential developments do. So that coupled with being able to park along public streets where there aren't driveways in the way will help, I think, quite a bit. School capacity is obviously a huge concern, and I know Valley View is actually planning on building 2 new schools, I believe, next year, 2025. So that should hopefully help things quite a bit. Developers and homes help to pay for schools, so you know, it's kind of the same thing with road improvements. A lot of the growing pains that happen do get helped along by developments like this. So I think that'll improve that a little bit. I don't know if the phasing plan's on this portion or not, but I'd love to cover some of Katie's questions. There is a canal to the east of the commercial, which is shown kind of in the gray area here. We're planning on leaving that open. It looks like it kind of crosses back over into probably her property and then over to the east. So the portion that's adjacent to our development will, let's see if I can, do I have control? No, you're okay. Oh, this might actually work well too. She had some questions on the phasing plan too, though, so if you have a chance, sorry. So we'll leave that part of the canal open, but it's directly adjacent to the commercial. We are planning a 6-foot privacy fence there, so along her side, I don't know if there's fencing existing or not, but that's a pretty decent, it looks like it's probably about 40 or 50 feet wide. That'll be a nice buffer between her and the commercial. As far as phasing, the phase 7 is for the commercial, and she'd asked about what the units were in red. Those are, so there's alley-loaded townhomes that have kind of the gray strip going through the middle at the very top of the red section. And then just south of the common lot where the basketball court is, those are actually single-family detached, narrow lots. So those will be single-family homes that are not with attached walls. And then the units that are directly adjacent to the multifamily are planned to be front-load townhomes. So there'll be a variety of kind of like attached on 3 walls, attached on 2 walls, attached on 4 walls. So they aren't, I don't think, technically considered duplexes, 3plexes, or triplexes in code because they're separated by property lines. Am I out of time on rebuttal?
That's fine.
Okay, sorry.
No, but I want you to answer the
Talking too
question.
much.
So no, you're fine.
Okay.
So keep going.
The purple that she'd asked about, which is phase 3, the homes that are on the very top part of the phasing plan, those are actually single-family detached narrow lots. So those will all be separated, and then alley load with a little strip in the middle, and a single-family narrow lot again to just below the commercial section. The houses that are directly north of phase 2 are a single-family front-load kind of townhome lot. I think that covers all the. Yes, everything that's in red, purple, yellow, and green is for sale.
Trouble.
The blue, oh, sorry.
Talk after 2, so.
Gonna get us kicked out. No, just kidding. The blue is the only section in this plat that will be multifamily for lease apartment style product. Let's see, obviously we agree with staff on the interpretation of code. We did design this plat specifically based on the 30% requirement. So with, I think one of the exhibits we provided with the application kind of breaks it down, but basically the commercial component, you know, accounts for a certain percentage. We're at like, I think 20% non-permitted with the 4plexes and the commercial included. See, and I agree, one of the benefits of a planned unit development is to provide a mix of uses, which includes commercial that'll really benefit these residents as well as other folks in the area. And then the variety of homes will be awesome for, you know, folks of varying demographics to be able to be close to the YMCA and schools in the area, as well as other services. Mr. Hancock had mentioned the traffic impact study. I was gonna kind of go through some of the figures in there real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So overall, this development, the traffic impact study was for the entire development. They they incorporated some commercial uses as just kind of a placeholder to understand what type of traffic that could generate, and they also included, you know, all of the single-family units, the townhome units, and the 164 multifamily units. So this development will be done over phases. There are 7 phases proposed. The first phase is about 75 homes, and that'll kick off pretty quickly. So if this project gets approved and we go through construction plans and final plat, that would be constructed probably in the next couple of years. And so the 2 points of access, one to Laster and one to Four Seasons, those would impact neighbors in the soon. Phases 2 and 3 will probably happen in the next 5 years, is my guess, with I think the rest of the phases. So phase 4 and 5 include single family again. Phase 6 is the multifamily. So that's probably, I'm just guessing here, but based on development and, you know, whatever the market does, it could be 7 to 10 years away. I think that'll provide hopefully a gradual increase in the number of folks in the area and traffic, and it'll give time for folks to get acclimated as well as services and infrastructure to get improved.
Stephanie, can you tell that, I know you're estimating, but
Yeah.
what were the timeframes for each phase again?
So, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. I think our client's intention, I think in the traffic impact study, they'd said that they were hoping for a 2030 build out. That's probably pretty optimistic, given the amount of time it takes to go through all the different reviews and construction plans and everything. So I think, you know, for the first phase, if they would love to get started if we get approved in 2024 with construction plans, so maybe 2025 for construction. Phase 2 and 3, I would imagine, would probably take off within 2026 if we're you know, doing well. Phase 4 would probably be 2027, 2028, and then phase 5 maybe like 2029. So you know, maybe if things move along quickly, the multifamily would be 2030 or 2031, depending on you know, what happens. So that's of course just an estimate. Obviously, everything can change, and we know how quickly the market can do different things. So I was mentioning all of this specifically because the traffic that the traffic impact study estimated to be generated from the entire development was about 5,000 trips per day, which that sounds like a lot. There are 308 trips per the AM peak hour and 477 trips during the PM peak hour. So that's usually how traffic engineers look to see how things are really being impacted. That's when a lot of the arterial and collector roadways are, you know, vastly impacted, which is the importance of connectivity and connecting stub streets and other roads to take strain off of some of the major roadways. They estimated that the distribution of patterns would be about 20% north of the site, 50% south, so that would be, you know, folks going from Laster likely over to Indiana and south, and then 5% west and 25% east. So that would be, you know, folks going either from Laster over to Florida, or I don't think the likelihood of folks going through the Four Seasons subdivision is probably high. It may be higher during the first phase than it would be with later phases. But hopefully that addresses some of those questions on the traffic impact study. Those are really large reports, and the engineers do a really great job of analyzing what the traffic engineer suggests and providing conditions, which Caldwell's engineering department has done with a lot of the improvements they're requiring. They've also limited the main access points onto U-stick to a right in, right out, just to make sure that there aren't additional conflicts on U-stick, which is, I think, a good move. Let's see, and Mary had mentioned the ditch on the southwest corner, so I think I addressed that a little bit, but we'll need to, I need to talk to our engineers and see exactly what they're planning on doing. I thought that initially they were probably going to relocate it, but if we need to pipe it and make sure that we're, you know, taking on drainage that's been historic there, we'll make sure to do that and work with the engineering department on that. So I think that hopefully covers everything that folks brought up. I'm happy to stand for more questions if you have them. Thank you for your consideration.
Sure. I do have a few follow-up questions, Stephanie. Thank you. The commercial, I know that's going to be one of the last phases, so it probably won't be 2032, 30, what?
Madam Hearing Examiner, I would say that's probably a good estimate.
Are you anticipating, I know when the neighbors wanted to know what was going to be, do you have like something tailored to like what is it gonna be like light office or?
Madam
It
Hearing
depends on the
Examiner,
market at the time.
Yeah, Madam Hearing Examiner, I think it'll depend on the market at the time. My opinion is that neighborhood serving types of uses would make sense here. So, like a professional office, doctor's office, hairdresser, or, coffee shops, or something that's an easily walkable service that would benefit people in the nearby vicinity would be beneficial. It's about 3 acres, so it won't be anything too big. There's definitely not gonna be like a big box or something going here, nothing that would generate a crazy amount of traffic. And because this is part of the plan unit development, and I believe staff mentioned that it should be neighborhood serving kinds of uses.
Right.
I
And
think
then
we'd have
Cade
to
would
accommodate that.
potential, they'll have to come back in for other separate applications since it's not gonna be, it's not zoned commercial.
Madam Hearing Examiner, no, that's actually part of that 30% that we were
Oh,
kind
okay.
of discussing before of
Okay.
the non-permitted, specially permitted uses.
Okay, I see. And then, Stephanie, as far as any fence, what kind of fencing are you proposing and any additional berming or landscaping? I know that that was a question.
Yes, Madam Hearing Examiner, I actually have a couple of slides with street sections to kind of give a little bit of a visual there. So Usick Road, we're planning a 25-foot landscape buffer with a 7-foot sidewalk, and it's going to be detached with a 6-foot tan vinyl privacy fence on the other side of the berm. So that'll provide, nice buffer for folks that are, I can show you where the multifamily is. There's a couple of, kind of the single family up there. Actually, it's just multifamily and commercial. So that's what those folks will be seeing. And then along Indiana, which is the western portion, they will have a 7-foot concrete attached sidewalk with a 20-foot landscape buffer, and then a 6-foot tan vinyl privacy fence again. So on the other side of, or actually I guess on the top of the berm there. So, and then Laster, which is the street on the south, will have a 7-foot concrete attached sidewalk with 15-foot landscape buffer, and then the 6-foot tan vinyl privacy fence on top of the berm.
Okay.
And then fencing otherwise, we are proposing 46-foot height open vision metal fencing. I did not include a detail of that, but it's along the Dixie Drain.
For the open, yeah.
Yep,
it
along
needs
the
to be
open space areas to make sure people can be seen. And then micro pathways throughout, as well as there's a common lot that you can see on your screen there that has a lot of the vegetation on the outside of it. That'll have a clear vision fence there too.
Okay. And then one of the things I think you maybe forgot to touch on was the transition. You were gonna talk about the lots transitioning.
Yes.
Can we go over that a little bit
Yeah.
more?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner, for bringing that up. So this isn't as close as I'd like it to be, but you can kind of see on the rendering here. So on the south portion of the development, those are all single-family detached homes. These are lots that are really similar in size to Four Seasons. You can see the lot lines. We've actually designed them specifically, and I think one of the gentlemen that came up to testify had mentioned that he wasn't thrilled about townhomes being in this portion. We don't have townhomes planned here. This is all single-family that abuts existing single-family residential.
That
So
abuts what's the subdivision over here is called?
Four Seasons.
Four Seasons,
Mhm.
okay. So he's noticing those townhomes that are really close to that corner.
Yes, yep. So he's
Okay.
noticing the townhomes that are, and those are front-load townhomes adjacent to that undeveloped property. And I guess it does, there's a corner that'll touch there. But the south portion, we actually did deliberately design it so that lot lines would align. And we actually have a couple of those corner kind of lots that actually about three different homes within the Four Seasons. Looks like 3 and then 2 within the Four Seasons development. So we feel that that's an appropriate transition for the south part to really build density and to try to transition product type up to the fourplex units. We placed the front load townhome units just north of the single family detached, with a narrower single family detached on the eastern border, on the eastern boundary. So the lighter yellow that you see directly above those front load townhomes is actually, those are all detached. And so they are, I can look and see what the lot sizes are. They're definitely smaller than the ones on the south side, but the intention was to kind of progressively increase density as we went up. And then as you go further west, it gets denser. So there are alley loaded lots and then attached townhome lots and then fourplexes.
So, talking about access, one of the neighbors was asking, like, why didn't you guys just tile the Dixie drain and take more access off of Indiana? So, was that something that you guys looked at all, or as far as potentially?
Madam Hearing Examiner, I don't know that we entertained the idea of piping the Dixie drain
Okay.
for very long. I know that it was discussed, but it's such a big facility and it's a huge easement, and so it just seemed like a better opportunity to leave it open. I think that I think it's around a 100-foot easement. It probably would have decreased the easement if we could have gotten buy-off from Pioneer and Bureau of Rec. The crossing over it would have had to be coordinated with Bureau of Reclamation, and those processes can take a long time, and I don't know that it was beneficial enough to this development to pursue that action. Or the developer kind of liked the idea of having kind of a little node on the side that would be just kind of its own thing with pedestrian access too. So it was kind of unique, I think.
Okay. I just thought it was a valid question. I wanted
Yeah,
to
no,
ask.
absolutely.
I think that is all the questions I have. Let me just make sure.
Okay.
And as far as all the findings and stuff, besides that one condition, you guys are in complete agreement
Yes,
with?
Madam Hearing Examiner, we are in agreement with the staff report and conditions aside from site-specific condition number 1.
Okay, okay. All right, Stephanie, I think I am done.
Okay.
So, thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time. So, let's see, what do I want to do? I just want to make sure I don't have any other extra questions. I don't have to reopen the public testimony hearing. And, you know, Scott brought up some good points about the code, and I just wanted to reiterate that the PUD overrides those exceptions. What was the discussion with the city, Katie, as far as when they came in pre-apt, you guys were open to having the fourplexes? That was something, I'm assuming this product has been built in other locations in Caldwell?
Madam Hearing Examiner, this is a pretty typical practice for people to use that 30%, so that they can kind of get that mixed-use component, which is also called out in the comp plan for having mixed-use PUDs. And most of the zones that are residential otherwise wouldn't be able to be a true mixed-use product. So the PUD code does override that
Overrides
section.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying one more time. Okay, I will close the public hearing, and I'm going to render my decision. This is hard because I do understand the neighbors' concerns. I did see the 2007 application, and this is significantly denser, but I have to look at the spirit of the code and what the PUD points out, and they want multifamily options. And this application does provide that variety of housing options with the open space and does meet the PUD code, the spirit of the code. Now, before I do render my final, I'm just a body that recommends to City Council. So you will have another hearing with City Council. If there's things that were not addressed, you can bring it up with them at this time. But with that, I do want to add a few conditions. So I do want to add a condition for the pedestrian bridge that will be constructed over the Dixie Canal. I have a location to be determined by the applicant, but it looks like their plan already has that location. So can we designate that?
Madam Hearing Examiner, do you want the condition to read something along the lines of as shown on the approved plat, with phase 5?
Yes. Is it on the plat, though?
It is on the plat.
Then, yes, that's exactly what I want. And then I would also like to add a condition for the applicant will be required to construct the outlined amenities within their PUD application. As far as the conditions that they wanted to modify, Rob, what's your opinion on that? Are you guys wanting everything done at once? Can they just do it per phase? As far as the improvements?
So generally. Hello? Generally, the frontage improvements are done at phases go, but that would be determined typically during the plan review because we don't know exactly how the phases are gonna look. We've seen a general idea of the phases here, but once they start looking at the plans, then they can determine what's fair, I guess, per phase to do on the frontage. Generally, we like the frontage done in larger pieces so that we're not doing little pieces, you know, for the next 4 years along the frontage and hopefully get them done in more complete portions, I guess, but we don't normally, in this meeting, we wouldn't normally put a condition on how that is exactly supposed to be done until we start receiving plan review. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. Oh, Morgan, yes, go ahead, Morgan.
Morgan Beeswaw, Planning and Zoning. So the city has seen a lot of development going in along Ustick lately, and some of the landscaping has been delayed, and there's been a real push by the city to try to get some of the landscaping and improvements along Ustick completed more quickly. That's where this condition came from. We had talked internally about other options for that condition, you know, if the applicant requested, and we had looked at requiring the improvements along Ustick to be completed with phase 3, since that's when they are developing their access point to Ustick, so it sort of made sense to have them done then. But it would make sense to delay the improvements along the landscaping and whatnot along Indiana until phase 5 when they start working along Indiana, if that was amenable to the applicant.
Can we bring up that condition that we want they want modified? So it would read, the applicant shall complete the remainder of the landscape buffers along Indiana Avenue, Ustick Road, and Laster Road with phase 5?
We would separate it out, so it said Ustick with phase 3, and then
Okay.
Indiana with 5. And it looks
Okay.
like the applicant
Yeah,
is amenable to that.
I'm amenable as well. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, I will render a decision based upon the testimony, information received, record of evidence. I will make a motion to recommend approval of Hoshaw subdivision for the plan unit development, preliminary plat, and DA modification. With that, I think we're done. Yes? We have nothing else on the agenda? I will close our public hearing. It is 3:04 p.m. Thank you.